1. Okay. Apparently we wouldn't even finish playing the video. So, alright.
Welcome, everyone, to the 90-second presentation of an Unearthly Podcast, streaming live on the 11th of February, 2015, and featuring Revenge of the Cybermen, written by Jerry Davis. I am Randy Ronson McCulloch, doing hosting fill-in for Bill, Man in Black Sylvia, who's down with the cyber plague, but is with us tonight on the panel.
How's it going?
Also with us is Mad Matt Winchell.
Hello.
Aaron Romeo Moon Burke.
Hello.
And Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Greetings!
Oh gosh, bombastic.
Oh my god, apparently Tim has been taken over by one of our favorite actors.
Brian Blessed.
Brian Blessed.
Hooray! Oh yes!
Rise,
Okay.
my Hawkman!
All right, so you might notice there's a few changes tonight. We've been doing some retooling of an Unearthly Podcast, and with us is our own brand new Twitch channel, www.twitch.tv/Unearthly Podcast. You can capitalize the U and P if you want, or just keep it small. We are also starting up our own YouTube channel. We have it, but we don't have a correct URL for it yet, so we'll bring you news on that later.
Right now we're using Mad Matt's, right?
For the moment.
Yes.
We'll see what happens once we put a couple videos up, see if we can get the right URL. Part of the reason this is happening is that over the course of the last week, Matt's video card has decided to die.
Yes.
And-
I was actually working on producing the next couple episodes, which were going to be Grand Theft Auto 3 on my channel, when while testing one of them, suddenly the screen started flickering black and then coming back saying that the card had recovered from an error. And this proceeded to get worse even after trying to wipe the drivers and reinstall them, only for it to just lock up instead of going black.
Ew, joy.
Yep.
So, as a result, we now have Erin doing our technical streaming tonight. This is a little new for her, as she's usually used to only in-game streaming, so it's a little... that's why we started a little late tonight, is to get everything situated right.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully this will all come out okay in the end.
Yep.
I have faith in Aaron.
Streaming.
If you want to help Matt with his video card problem, help him get a new card and throw a couple bucks his way. I believe, Matt, you have a Patreon site?
Yes, Aaron is showing it on the stream, as I believe, at least recently, if not right now. With also donating to help me out on this, you will also get credits on any of my videos, and you will also unlock free musical downloads, all of which are actually safe to be used even on YouTube.
Okay.
As well as assortment of other bonuses, of course.
Well, I hope we can get things going for you, Matt, and hopefully get you back in the tech chair, as you've been with us now for 4 seasons.
Yes, I would love to get things back in order. And also, it would either be going to replace the graphics card, depending on how much graphics cards run these days, or just
Depends on how
upright
good you want.
or also just upright getting a new computer, because I believe the last time when I got the current computer that I have, it only cost somewhere around $650 grand total, which isn't a whole heck of a lot, all considering.
So, like I said, if you want to help us out with that, send a few bucks Matt's way, and hopefully it'll all add up. Let's move on to the news now. All right. So the first thing is that the BBC has released their Live Plus 7 ratings for last Christmas and have included that in their big, massive Live Plus 7 for the entire season. I believe that will put us that Last Christmas actually is the second highest rated show with 9.62 million total. Once all the Live Plus 7s are in, that puts it behind Deep Breath, the season premiere, which had 10.76, but above the season finale, Death in Heaven, which had 8.81, all things considered. This does put it in the average for our season 8 showings, and hopefully we'll see similar, if not better, ratings for season 9 when that eventually gets put on the air.
Yep. Any other comments?
I am a little bit confused about the term Live Plus 7. iPlayer within...
It's within 7 days of the original transmission. Yeah. So the live event itself, plus anybody with their iPlayer, you can basically, it's kind of like they're on demand. So it includes anything within 7 days of the original transmission of anybody that's activated the iPlayer and rewatched the episode, figuring that those people missed it the first time and are catching up. So it takes them a little while to tabulate all those plus 7 listings and tack them onto the original figures, because there's so many additional things that they also include, which is time-shifted broadcasts and the repeat broadcast later that same day.
Yeah.
And they need to tabulate all of that, add it up, and put it on the chart.
Which takes a while.
Yeah, which is why we're getting this in February and not in January.
Okay.
But now we have it, so now our season 8 is complete.
All right.
One of these days, I'm going to actually crunch these together and give us a whole mean and everything, but I don't have that right now.
Yeah. All right.
So
moving on then. Radio Times news. Quote from Stephen Moffat: "We don't know when the Sherlock special will be on TV." Stephen Moffat freely admits that sometimes he has to lie about his programs to protect their secrets, but there is one thing he promises he's not lying about whenever he knows when the much-anticipated Sherlock special will be shown. And to quote Mr. Moffat himself, "We are filming our first two-parter at the moment, which in fact are going to be episodes 3 and 4 of the new series. A brilliant script by Toby. Then there's going to be a couple more lined up from other writers. Some new, some old, some in the middle."
Doctor Who two-parter.
Yeah, he's actually talking about Doctor Who there.
Oh, is this?
Yeah. That's why we posted this. He kind of the interview he has. He kind of shifts his conversation from Sherlock to Doctor Who.
He's talking about filming for Doctor Who in this at the very end.
Yep.
So he's talking about Doctor Who then at the very end. He is saying that he's got some old stuff, some new stuff, some in between. And then there's going to be a couple more lined up for writers, some new, some old. It's a little bit early to start teasing it, but I'm a bit excited. I think we have some very, very good stuff going on. Quote Moffat on the new season.
So it sounds like we've got like 2 or 3 two-parters going on.
Which
plus,
we have actually been complaining that he hasn't had enough two-parters because his episodes feel a little crammed at the end.
Yeah, we have been. Ever since, what was it, season 7, he basically decided no two-parters.
Series 7, he wanted no two-parters, which was a combination of, he claimed that two-parters were hurting the ratings, in addition to the style that they were working with at that time was pretty much to see how much content they could cram into 42 minutes as possible, and two-parters were a little antithetical to that. Successes are arguable, but thankfully they're moving on back to hour-and-a-half stories, at least for the big ones.
And that's a good thing to hear. I really miss the two-parters. Two-parters are about the same length as a 4-part Classic Who episode as far as content.
Yeah, and
Yes.
to me, that is the perfect length for a Doctor Who story. There are some stories that can be longer, like your invasions, your war games. There are some stories that ought to be shorter, but most stories fit very well in that range if done properly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, are we moving on then?
Yes.
I believe we are.
Okay, big news for Big Finish. Everyone loves spin-offs, from Joey to Joni Loves Chachi to Pinky the Bean with Elmira. The people at Big Finish have just announced that they're going to be producing a series featuring the new unit with Kate Stewart, the daughter of our favorite Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart. This will be the first Big Finish series featuring the New Who.
Yeah.
New Who. And everyone's very thrilled. According to producer David Richardson, it will showcase all the excitement, drama, and wit that viewers of Doctor Who love. I would have been happy if they had just had the excitement and drama, but the wit is good too.
Yes.
And
of course, the big question this raises is, does this completely lift the ban that Big Finish has had on New Who? It is certainly a foot in the door.
Yeah.
It's definitely a foot in the door, especially if it works out well.
Yeah, because as you know, as we've mentioned, the fact that Big Finish has been by license forbidden from even referencing New Who before.
Yeah, so far the closest that they've come is I think they might have both had adult Sarah Jane at the same time for a short period. I'm not even sure if that's true, but that's the closest that they've come to referencing New Who so far. So it definitely outside of crossovers with Audio Go and the like. So hopefully, yeah, this is a foot in the door, especially combined with the news that the Torchwood cast is interested in producing audio dramas. One and one might equal two if we're very lucky.
And hopefully this will eventually lead to some 9th, 10th, and 11th Doctor audio dramas and some War Doctor dramas, all of which would be very welcome by Big Finish listeners.
I would be interested in War Doctor, especially if John Hurt
War Doctor
did it.
would be nice. Yeah, especially if they get John Hurt back to do the War Doctor.
I'd be interested in a few specials from John Hurt. I think a monthly range would kind of ruin the mystery of the Time War.
A special or two, but yeah, I wouldn't go too bonkers with it.
Or even like a War Doctor 6-part series.
Yeah, that would work
like
too.
Like a Dark Eyes type of deal.
Kind of thing,
box set.
It would actually, if they played it right, play right off of their Gallifrey series.
By the way, if I'm remembering right, this unit is a box set rather than a monthly range. Am I correct?
Yes, it says the first box set release is due in November, and is 4 hours. And it features an appearance by the Nestine Consciousness and its army of plastic Autons.
The Nestine Consciousness.
That is smart. A throwback to Rose, Terror of the Autons, and Spearhead from Space. All good things to throw back to when you're kicking off a story
Not to mention the old BBV unit stuff. Auton.
Yeah, that too. And considering that Kate was introduced not in BBV but in something very similar, if I remember right, it's also poetically fitting as well.
Very apropos. Okay.
So back to me again, I believe.
Yes.
This would be the Belford Who Charity Con. Bedford. Bedford Charity is raising money for the homeless by organizing a Doctor Who convention with a special discount for readers of the Doctor Who news. Bedford Who Charity Con is being held Saturday, 11th of April, to raise funds for Bedford Food Bank, who provides emergency food to local people in crisis. The organizers do not make any money from the event. Once costs are covered, all the money raised goes to the food bank. Confirmed guests. To be changed, but so far they have Nicola Bryant, Sophie Perry, Sophie Eldred,
Ace,
Annie Willis. Annie Willis.
Who the heck is Annie Willis?
Polly,
Wills?
I believe.
Oh.
Holly, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting pick. John Leeson.
K9.
Terry Malloy.
Davros.
Mike Tucker.
Who's Mike Tucker? Might be a writer, because Paul Cornell is too.
And Paul Cornell, as Randy just mentioned.
I'm looking at Mike Tucker on TARDIS.
Largely
uncredited visual effects assistant.
Ooh.
And a model unit supervisor for a few episodes in series 1 and 2.
So he
did visuals on both classic and New Who then, but
nice.
Mostly behind the scenes stuff.
So yeah, he got to do the explosive stuff in the later Who, and he got to do the special effects in more recent Who. Awesome.
Nice.
And Doctor Who choreographer Elisa Burke. Lisa Burke. Oh, isn't she the one who instructed the Cybermen? I think.
Possibly. It says here she'll be leading an alien movement workshop. So
sweet. Yes, I've seen her work. She is excellent.
Yeah, she's responsible for teaching movement to the actors playing the aliens.
If you want to learn to stomp like Cybermen.
Not limited to Cybermen, yes.
Scarecrows. Other Dave.
She's done some fantastic work for the show. She made the Cybermen intimidating again.
That,
by the way,
yes, that's an awesome. That would be an awesome workshop.
Oh yeah.
Note to self: check on costs.
Check on costs. Please nav if possible. Bring to a convention and teach a whole bunch of nerds how to walk down the hallway like Cybermen. This will be fantastic and spook a few people, maybe.
Prices is £40 for adults. That would be about what?
$60, $70.
It's about $70 for
70,
adults.
Yeah.
70? Yeah. 65, 70?
And then it would be about $35 for
it's a little expensive, but you know what? For the people that they got here, holy smokes, I'd drop that in a heartbeat if I had that kind of money.
Yeah, at the same time, that's about the same cost. We recently had a convention here in Madison, Wizard World, and it was about the same price for a Comic-Con. But at least this is going to charity and not into the creators' pockets.
True.
Good.
And you can apparently order from their convention website.
Nice.
BedfordWhoCharityCon.co.uk.
Excellent.
So if you're in the UK, by all means, go to this.
Awesome.
Probably helping a lot of people by doing it too. So I believe this goes back to Tim now.
All right. If you've ever wondered about the innermost thoughts of the Doctor and the Master, then what is it saying? 2 archive interviews are being made available on DVD by myth makers. One with Tom Baker and one with Anthony Ainley. The myth makers Tom Baker interview was first released in 1989. It was conducted with Nicholas Briggs at the location used for the Android invasion, where Baker frankly discusses his life and career. And then the one with Anthony Ainley was recorded in the year 2000. And he reveals his thoughts and feelings playing the Master.
Must have been shortly before his death.
Must have been, yeah.
Yes. Now, this is big news. These interviews are being made available because both these gentlemen are known for being quite reticent about their experiences in Doctor Who. I know, I've heard Tom Baker doesn't go to conventions or is
Not as often, yeah.
Has that changed in the recent years since you started doing things like Big Finish?
I don't think it had. I think he's more willing to talk.
Yeah, he's.
But I still think he hasn't been. He hasn't been conventioning, and that's mostly for health reasons.
That's true. He's what, 81?
Yeah, he's not as spry as he used to be. So he's, you'll notice, during like Day of the Doctor, when he walks off, he's obviously not as fast of a mover as he was in his youth. So,
obviously,
he's much like Christopher Lee. He probably doesn't want to take trips across the pond anymore.
He doesn't have Ian Marter to do his action scenes anymore.
No.
Ouch.
And this is the time. This is the time that he could use an Ian Martin, at least one in his prime.
Right.
So yeah, these are some rare interviews.
And
Ainley, I think, was a little more gung ho, but again, he wasn't that healthy near the end of his life, and of course, his life has ended since then.
Mm-hmm. So this is one last hurrah for being able to see anything from him.
I wonder if his interview is as campy as his acting.
Do the interview as the master?
Well, I remember watching the interview with the guy that did the master for what was it, Curse of Fatal Death, and he pretty much did the interview in his master persona. It was very campy.
Well, it says here that it proves that Ainley was a very different man to the character we saw on our TV screens. I also like how they bill these as Tom Baker, the Fourth Doctor, obviously, and Anthony Ainley, the Fourth Master.
That's kind of true.
He was the fourth. He was the fourth actor to play the Master.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the Skullface Master was played by two different people.
I mean, granted, we're supposed to be assuming he's in his 14th incarnation at this point, but
yeah,
something like that.
Which is what.
But then again,
Peter
we're
Capaldi
still referring. We're still referring to Capaldi as the 12th Doctor. So
yeah, it depends upon what we actually see on screen for the number these days.
Yep.
We'll admit there haven't been others, but yeah, that's kind of what the number is now.
Okay, so moving on. A very small debate popped up very recently in Doctor Who magazine between the head writers Russell T. Davies and Stephen Moffat. Russell T. Davies was basically Moffat has a question and answer panel in Doctor Who magazine. Let's see if I can talk tonight. That'd be nice. He basically lets letters come in, and one of the letters that came in asked him about what happened in Day of the Doctor. The Doctor Who magazine, he brought up the list of the Doctor's many wives. Of course, Moffat would bring this out, and the response letter was from Russell T. Davies asking if his marriage to Queen Elizabeth I was unconsummated. Because, of course, the writing in The End of Time, Part 1, the 10th Doctor arrives on the Ood sphere and says, got married, that was a mistake. Good old Queen Bess, and let me tell you, her nickname is no longer Ahem.
If I understand the wording right, it's that Moffat's list had listed that marriage as unconsummated, and that was what Russell was challenging.
And then Moffat responds to this. Oh, for God's sake, pay attention. You've gone soft up there in Manchester. Practically tofu, I'd say. Probably all that lazing about, never writing any episodes for me, even though I wrote 6 for you. Yes, 6. Actually, no, 7. Time Crash counts too, and it was for charity. But never mind. Oh no, I'll just type on and neglect my children. That's fine. Okay, the facts. I said the marriage was unconsummated. And so it was. You saw for yourself in The Day of the Doctor. He ran straight off after the ceremony. Would we have put that on television if it wasn't true? But I never said, not once, not ever, that the relationship was unconsummated. Yes, Russell, I went there. Even as you gasp and clutch the furniture for support, I am writing in the pages of Doctor Who magazine about premarital shenanigans. I realize you've probably never heard of such unsanctified naughtiness. Glancing at your resume, I see you write mainly about fruit and veg for Channel 4, but it does go on, you know? Well outside of Manchester, so there you are. You may sleep again. The doctor's boast in the end of time, oh, and thanks for that title just before I took over, and my statement that his marriage to Elizabeth was unconsummated are in no way contradictory. True fact. Accept my true fact. Back away in shame at your wrongness. Actually, write me a story and we'll say no more about it. Now, here's the question. I remember that scene leading up to the marriage in Day of the Doctor, and that did not seem like a consummated relationship to me.
Not
what do you guys think?
Particularly, not in my opinion, yeah.
So, is Stephen Moffat, like a lot of his writing, pulling these statements pretty much out of his ass?
As far as I'm aware, yes, he is. I think it's Moffat trolling people for the sake of trolling and trying to get attention.
Okay. Anybody have any differing opinions? Anybody?
I just don't understand the importance of it. I mean, I understand it's the Virgin Queen, but I don't really care.
Yeah, and I will also add that, yeah, it seems like it's just clickbait, like they're just trying to get extra attention for no apparent reason, other than the fact that Doctor Who's having another season in, like, say, 4 months.
I think what actually happened is that the 9th Doctor went in and boffed the Queen, and then the 10th came in and married her.
Okay.
That seems like something they would do. I don't know.
Anyway, it just it doesn't hold true to me. It just doesn't feel like it's there, and I think Moffat's once again pulling information pretty much out of his ass. So we'll call you on that, Moffat.
It's Moffat pulling out his fanfiction.
To be fair, 2 or 3 years ago, Moffat would have said that the Doctor can't remember whether or not he was lying to the Ood. So at least he's actually attempting to give a response this time, whereas in the past he wouldn't have bothered.
Do you think half of it's him being peevish at Russell too?
Maybe.
I mean, I think the majority of it is just him having fun at him. I don't think like he's actually pissed off at him. The majority of that response is him, his being cheeky.
Probably.
Being a cheeky little.
And damn it, Russell, write me an episode.
Yeah. Come on, Russell, come on.
Yeah, because he's on record saying that he basically asks Russell every year to write him an episode, and Russell's like, no, that's fine.
Come on, Russell, you know you wanna. At least try us a Dalek episode. You used to be able to write Daleks fantastically, Russell. Come on. You know you want Daleks. Make them
scary again.
Yes, make them scary.
Because Moffat can't write Daleks worth ass.
To be fair, when Russell got his hands on Daleks and really did things he wanted, we got things like Dalek shoving a human up his ass.
That was not written by
He didn't write that script, but apparently he did. Apparently, pretty much most of that script was him, even though it's not a credited script.
But when Davis was writing Daleks, we got episodes like Parting of the Ways.
Sure.
We got episodes like Doomsday.
I just remember the suckers sucking out that guy and sucking on the guy's head and turning it to dust.
Yeah, that was in Dalek. That
was in Doomsday when they were trying to get the information on how to open up the sphere.
Oh, that's right, that too.
Out of the scientist.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I confused it with him cracking the guy's head in Dalek. But yeah, and we got Journey's End, which, while not as good as Doomsday and Parting of the Ways, it's still a fairly good episode.
Oh yes.
So
still a pretty good season finale, even if it was a little bleak.
I would love to see Russell write some write some more Daleks and make them scary, because they've been kind of asinine since Moffat took over. I get the feeling Moffat isn't fond of them. We've got Sentai Daleks.
Or he might enjoy them, but he doesn't know what to do with them.
You know what would make a great season is if we get Russell T Davies to do a two-parter of Daleks, and then we get who to do Cybermen again.
You know who?
I don't think he wants to write a second episode of the same thing. I think if anything, he wants to write. He wants to write an Earth episode, but I don't think Cybermen a second time.
Yeah, he wants to write a new. He wants to create a new alien because he hasn't done that yet. It's on his tick box.
Well, then let him make that, and then maybe inspire him to do another Cybermen story, or maybe hint to one.
Who are we
and
talking
then the
about
follow-up
now?
story would be a Cyberman one.
Neil Gaiman.
He's referring to Neil Gaiman.
Oh.
Neil.
He only did the Doctors. Oh wait, no, he did Nightmare in Silver. Oh no, not Nightmare in Silver. The
Yep.
the other
Nightmare in
Cybermen one.
Yeah,
it's Nightmare in Silver. You're
Silver.
thinking Silver Nemesis.
Yeah.
Which we do keep trying to confuse that title. Silver.
But to be honest, Nightmare in Silver was not as good as The Doctor's Wife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it was nice to see the Cybermen doing something decent and another nice upgrade.
Yeah, it was a lot better than most of the rest of Series 7B, which was more or less a steaming pile of crap, other than the first episode, Nightmare in Silver. The rest of it and part of Nightmare in Silver was actually bogged down by those kids.
Yeah.
Yes. If they wouldn't have dragged those kids in, we probably could have had a pretty solid one.
Or
so you're saying they could have gotten away with it if not for those kids.
Or
yes, pretty much.
If the kids had been done differently, it could have really been a scary story through the eyes of the kids, but it wasn't done enough for that to be what it was.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. No, it was still a better attempt than we got most of that season, because that was also the same season that brought us Journey to the Center of the TARDIS.
Oh, God, Journey to the Center of the TARDIS.
Mm-hmm.
When I start collecting box sets of Doctor Who, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you when Mikey gets to squirm seeing that one.
The con does actually hold most of those.
I still want to collect them, because as soon as we're not heads of the viewing con, we're not going to be able to see them anymore. Or at least
then
not
I'll
as
have
easily.
to recollect them.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to our actual discussion topic for the evening, and that is Revenge of the Cybermen.
Yes.
First up is the summary, which I have, unless anyone else has had time to put together a summary.
I've not actually pre-written a summary or anything, but I did just watch it today with Mike. If you have something pre-written, by all means, go ahead.
I don't have it pre-written. I've got it in my head.
Oh, okay.
If you want to go ahead, but
go ahead, and if you have any gray areas, just ask.
All right. So the episode starts with the Dr. Sarah and Harry spinning through time with the assistance of a time ring, heading back to Nerva Station, where they last left the TARDIS after the events of Genesis of the Daleks. The Time Lords prove that they are no better at steering through time than the Doctor is, because the group actually winds up several thousand years too early on the beacon. The TARDIS, therefore, has to apparently drift backwards through time to reach them. Arriving on the station, they discover, of course, it's no longer an arc in space, as it was 2 or 3 serials earlier. And instead, it seems to be having problems of its own. It seems to be largely deserted, though, going out into the corridor after they break open a door, they discover the fact that the station is, in fact, full of corpses. Meanwhile, the 3 surviving crewmen on the beacon and 1 passenger are still doing their job, mainly warning ships of the new asteroid in space that appeared within the last 50 years. Apparently, spaceships in the Who future in the 70s have no actual forward sensors and are in danger of smashing into this new rock. They have been hit with the plague for the last 2 months. and are basically on a less than skeleton shift with no assistance from Earth Command. One of these ships, the Pluto Earth rocket that they're talking to, requires or inquires on the presence of his brother, which is serving on the station, and they basically bullshit an answer that he's fine and the plague is under control. In reality, he's dead, and it's not. As the Doctor and the others break into this, heading for the forward control room, one of the on-duty officers receives a message from this new asteroid, or this new moon of Jupiter, but it's quickly cut off as we cut to that asteroid where an alien, presumably the natives of the planet, is shot to death by two of his own people. Upon hearing this, he inquires to the passenger, who apparently was the person that did the scouting report on this planet, which he has named Voga. And shortly after this, the crewman is attacked by, I can only describe it as a dustbuster worm hybrid.
It is
in
technically
reality
supposed to be a Cybermen.
I was actually going to say that.
Sorry.
It is apparently the new version of the Cybermat, and it bites him on the neck just as the Doctor and Harry come in and are cornered by the remaining two personnel with guns. They are accused of letting the plague in, which this man has, but the Doctor, with some quick thinking, claims to be medical personnel, since Harry technically is, and they go to work trying to figure out the plague. The Doctor makes some startling discoveries. One, that the station has scratches all over the floor, and B, that apparently these things like to eat tape because the taped message from the planet that we had heard earlier is missing. When the Doctor hears the name Voga, it sparks some memory, and after a few seconds of repeating it to himself, he remembers the fact that it is the planet of gold, and that what they're up against is the Cybermen. Pretty much spoiling any spoilers we might have had. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, the planet...
Wouldn't the title spoil that?
On Voga... True, very true.
Yes.
Which, by the way, is the problem with the of thus, but we'll talk about that later. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, on the planet, they are currently apparently having a small sub-revolution in a way. Apparently, the Guardian faction, which guards the mines, and the actual council is at odds on what to do. The head of the Guardians is partially behind this plot in order to, and is prepping a giant missile to destroy the beacon. And he talks a little bit of his agent. We can only assume who his agent is at this point in the broadcast. Meanwhile, the head of the council or the Chancellery is basically getting guards together to start taking control from the Guardians, who have been doing some very suspicious activities. The Doctor, checking the patient, discovers that, yes, it's not a plague, but a toxin spreading through his body spread by cybermats. He said that if he had known faster, he could have used the transmat system to actually fix it. But unfortunately, he's unable to. Meanwhile, Sarah is sitting in one of the side rooms watching television while she's being snuck up on by the same cybermat. Apparently, what she's watching is 1970s BBC One, because she turns it off in boredom before she's abruptly attacked. By the time the Doctor and Harry get there, she is already having a face full of plague, as it was. The Doctor rushes her to the transmat beam, but it's been sabotaged. Somebody's removed the Pentalion drive. Pretty much the source of of how the beaming stream works. So yes, we're getting into minor Star Trek tech here. Anyway, the Doctor quickly jury-rigs up a solution so that his Star Trek medical procedure will actually work, and beams Harry and Sarah down to the planet. It works, and Sarah is quickly revived. But before they get much further than examining a few gold rocks on the ground, they're caught by the Guardians and brought to speak with their leader, Voris. Voris accuses them of being infiltrators, and that he said with the way the plan works, there was only supposed to be 4 survivors on the station, and they're not one of them. However, he soon receives a message and they're hauled off and put in chains. Meanwhile, on the station, the Doctor and the others have begun to see a strange ship approaching. The Doctor has deduced that the 4th member is actually the traitor who has sent a distress signal to the Cybermen, who has begun their invasion of the station early. With a little bit of running about, the man tries to capture the Doctor in his room, but the Doctor manages to pull out of it. And some questioning, he's managed to find the Pentalion drive, which the man had hidden around his neck. He basically threatened him with a cybermat until he caved in. Anyway, he fixes the Pentalion drive, tries to retrieve Harry and Sarah, but they're not there, of course. And this new ship poses a problem. As it soon docks at the station, Cybermen come out and shoot everybody, even the Doctor. But they're not dead. They're simply unconscious. Meanwhile, Harry and Sarah escape from their bonds as apparently a small battle breaks out on the planet. The Cybermen revive the 2 surviving station operators and the Doctor and strap them with large bombs, telling them that they will go down the main shaft on the planet to blow up the core of Voga. Voga being made of gold, which is what caused the Cybermen to lose their last cyber war. The Doctor then, not really having a choice, proceeds to beam down to the planet as Sarah and Harry split up. Harry eventually comes across the Doctor on his trip down, nearly kills him twice. And from that, the Doctor manages to hatch a plan that one of them would go down and 2 of them would double back and take out the 2 cyber guards that went with them. Meanwhile, Sarah has managed to get herself beamed back up to the station and overhears the Cybermen talking that the leeway time that the humans have in running from these exploding bombs is false, and they will be destroyed in this conflagration. The Doctor and one of the men double back, and after unsuccessfully trying to take out the 2 cyber guards, the man drops down on them and, unclasping his bomb, makes it blow up, taking them out in what should have been a lot larger explosion than it was. But the Doctor manages to hotwire the controls on the bombs just as the Cybermen try to blow them up, so that, hey, they're safe and Voga doesn't blow up. The Cybermen take umbrage at this and basically strap a whole bunch more bombs to Nerva Beacon and use its thrusters to start moving towards the planet. The Doctor, realizing that this is an issue, and having allied the 2 factions to deal with this more immediate threat, beams back to the station, telling them wait 15 minutes before launching their missile. The Doctor beams up, frees Sarah, who had been captured by the Cybermen. But after a little bit, they both are captured by the remaining Cybermen, and Cybermen start leaving on their spaceship, leaving Sarah and the Doctor strapped to a chair, rushing towards the planet, while the planet, getting impatient, fires its missile. Unfortunately, the person that did this, Vorus, is killed during the process. Which means that nobody on the planet actually knows how to control the missile. The Doctor manages to get free, contact the planet, and even though he's never seen the controls, manages to psychically tell the commander of Nerva Beacon how to move the missile so it strikes the cyber ship instead of the station. Then the Doctor manages to quickly jury-rig the controls so that they, instead of crashing into the planet, pull into orbit. Just as the TARDIS, with an impeccable sense of timing, then finally manages to show up. Harry beams back to the station with the surviving commander, just as the Doctor comes out of the TARDIS with a message saying that they have to leave because the Brigadier needs them on Earth. The end of episode.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Okay. So,
That being
Basically,
said,
this is here. Yep. That being said, we're going into our basic what we liked, what we didn't like.
well, I believe Bill
about
had
the
a few
episode.
things he wanted to mention, though.
Yes, he did. I was actually going to bring those up in here if we had time, but actually we do have a few minutes.
We have a little bit.
So, Bill, yep. Go ahead, Bill.
Did he mute his mic?
Actually, Bill's away from keyboard at the moment, so.
Oh, okay. Never mind. So yeah, we can at least
there were a few production things that we saw in here that was interesting. One of the things that we noticed is that the Vogons, I can barely call them that without breaking into snickers, by the way. I expect their leader to be called Jeltz. I really do. This is prosthetic Vogon Jeltz. But anyway, that their official seal of Voga happens to be the seal of Rassilon.
Yeah.
Now, this is done because the guy that produced this episode was the same guy that produced The Deadly Assassin. And he happened to like that symbol. But
You're talking
throwing
about
it into the Doctor Who... Yeah. That swirly figure 8 symbol would later become the Prydonian symbol and then later the seal of the seal of Rassilon. It kind of has a bizarre evolution in Doctor Who history.
Yeah, I believe in particular for this showing of it, they actually turned it upside down, but it doesn't really hide it that well, to be honest.
It had never been seen before on the show, Matt.
Oh.
This was its actual first appearance.
Well, then
it would not be seen again.
Still.
It would not be seen again until The Deadly Assassin, which then it becomes the Prydonian symbol, which the Doctor signs something and stamps it with that. And then I believe it was the Invasion of Time, which made it the seal of Rassilon.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I believe they turned it upside down, which, again, despite the fact that the swirls are aiming in a different direction on the outside of the main symbol, still doesn't hide it very well.
No, in fact, I believe the symbol looks identical upside down as right side up. So unless they flipped it.
To some degree, yes.
It looks pretty much exactly the same. I'm pretty sure they...
Bill.
I'm pretty sure this was retconned in a novelization or something as it actually being a reference to the Time Lords.
I think I've heard
I don't know.
Initially.
That is my opinion, if you need to fit it in, is the fact that might be an indicator that the Time Lords may have actually been the ones to bring Voga in during the last Cyber War.
Possibly.
So it kind of smells of CIA interference to me. CIA, of course, being the Celestial Intervention Agency, that little meddling arm of the Time Lords that basically became more clandestine after the Second Doctor's trial. And spent no ends of time pissing him off during the Third Doctor era, telling him the Master was coming about, and as the ones that sent him to Skaro for Genesis of the Daleks.
Yep.
Anything else I think you had some other notes you wanted to mention about the episode, Bill?
Yes, I do want to mention and I can kind of see both sides on this a little bit, and it's something that is kind of ruined by the way the Doctor continued. Obviously, this was written as a brand new Doctor, but there's it seems, at least as far as I've seen, the main redemptive reading of this story to be that it was mainly written basically as a story to say the Cybermen are rubbish, and writing a nostalgic story just to focus on the Cybermen is rubbish. And the main crux of that is largely, the fact that the Cybermen are kind of crap in here, and some, in at least, in a lot of ways, is kind of balanced out by other flaws in the episode, which kind of prevent them from being worse than anything else. But also the fact that the Doctor that whenever he's on screen with them, he's mocking them, not taking them seriously. However, if you've watched Fourth Doctor stories, that's kind of what you're used to seeing, is when the Doctor is face to face with someone, he's mocking them, not taking them seriously. And obviously a lot of Doctors after him also picked up that trait. Whereas when the Cybermen are not face to face with him in this story, he's clearly taking them seriously, trying to keep them from landing and so forth. So I don't see him as treating this different from any other threat.
Yeah.
No. I honestly don't see it either. I actually thought that this was pretty credible for him because, yes, when he's not there, he's obviously under a lot of pressure.
Yes.
Trying to save Sarah and cross-reference that drive. He's like, Harry's like, Doctor, if you could hurry on. And he's almost panicked. And when he's saying, I am hurrying, you know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's obvious that he is considering this a credible threat. But yes, when he's up to the face, he's not going to be telling them, oh my God, I'm scared of you, because that's not his mentality.
Yeah, it's not the Fourth Doctor's mentality when in danger. His mentality when face to face with the danger is to joke about.
And I'm pretty sure that's something that every doctor after him has picked up when they're face to face with a threat like that, to mock them.
To some degree, yes.
In various ways. The Fifth Doctor tends to have an even tone when talking to them, but will occasionally stay kind of a deadpan snark. The Sixth Doctor, because kind of arrogant regardless.
Yeah, the Sixth Doctor mocks you no matter who you are, so that's a
that's a given.
You could be his friend and he'll still be mocking you.
The Seventh Doctor will actually try to talk you into a fury. And then the Eighth Doctor will have kind of the eye-rolling sarcasm remarks. 5 minutes, that's an eternity. What'll I do if I get bored? How about handing me something to read? Knitting. I need knitting. You know, he's basically, that's what he does under pressure, is get these biting sarcasm remarks. The ninth mostly tends to act out of anger.
Sorry, I'm also watching the stream.
The 10th tends to have a little bit of snark to him. The 11th, the 11th doesn't seem to do that as much as the others, but the 11th kind of had his own kind of way.
I'm trying to think of an example, but I feel like he would do the same thing. He's definitely had moments where he's just gone on a random tangent to stall for time while faced with someone like, in a situation like this.
Not to mention the 11th will have his snark moments, but he'll also try to play the fool as well.
Although, and I mean, 10 would also... I mean, 4 does this as well. He just doesn't do it in the story. I don't know how this works. Come over here and show me. Meanwhile, hitting a bunch of buttons behind the Cyberman's back type of deal.
And 12 is kind of like 6, in which he would kind of be flippant towards you regardless.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, 12's personality is basically to talk brashly.
Yeah,
he's in your face.
Yeah, he'll be in your face the entire time, even when he knows that you're a threat.
Even when he doesn't know that you're a threat. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess this kind of set the template, but at the same time, I think Pertwee did it to an extent, too.
To an extent, yes.
I mean, I'm not sure if I've seen the right Third Doctor episodes to judge that. I mean, I've seen him deal with the Master, and he always just seems to be more calm and in charge regardless of the situation, rather than going to either extreme.
He's coming in charge, but he'll also be very snarky about it.
Yeah, he can be, yeah. We'll discuss this later when we actually see some more Pertwee stuff, which will be later.
If I had seen the 3 Doctors recently, I could probably come up with an example of how he reacts to a credible threat. But I can't remember how he reacts.
I believe there's some of that snark in like Death to the Daleks and Day of the Daleks, but we'll talk about those much later. Anyway, was there anything else you wanted to make notes of?
I was away from unable to hear for a bit. Did you mention what did I mention? Oh,
we only mentioned the seal.
Okay. Well, it is worth mentioning that the good guy Vogan, the one that not the militaristic one that threatened to kill him, the elder guy, is played by the same actor as Mavic Chen and Tobias Vaughn. It's his one chance to be a good guy in Doctor Who.
And he's in a full makeup.
And the writer of this episode is the second writer from Tomb of the Cybermen, so that's worth noting. Although At least one person I found online is under the impression that Robert Holmes did a lot of rewrites of the script.
Not true. He did a bit of rewriting, and then he added a subplot during episodes 3 and 4. Basically, after handing it in, they felt like the Doctor was not in enough peril at the end of the serial. So he wrote the bomb subplot. Them going down with the cyber bombs strapped to them.
Okay.
That was Holmes' writing.
Yeah, that would be some of Holmes' bleaker writing, yes.
Yeah, Aaron and I saw a kind of behind-the-scenes bit on this on our DVD.
I was trying to look for one, but I couldn't easily find one. So
yeah, I did not come across any behind-the-scenes things, largely because I've had a really strange a really complicated past few weeks, so I haven't really had time to dedicate to looking at extra material as I normally would want to.
Mm-hmm. Interesting fact, Revenge of the Cybermen was the first the first serial of Doctor Who to be released on official home video.
Yep.
In 1983. There was a whole bit on the DVD about the bootleg Doctor Who trade back in the early 80s.
Oh my gosh, hon. How many Rand? How much were people paying for some of these episodes?
Somebody paid the equivalent of $360 US I believe.
Wasn't there someone who paid over $1,000?
Oh, that's right. Somebody paid £360 then for a copy of I think it was the Silurians in color.
Mm-hmm.
And this was years before the BBC had it in color. So. And one thing I noticed about that I don't know who paid for it. It was a random person they talked to. But anyway, they also talked about how these recordings, how bad they got over generations. And it reeled to me that the Lionheart recording of Revenge of the Cybermen, the one that I watched in the 80s, was probably a 9th or 10th generation recording. Because that's what it looked like.
So your copy looked particularly rubbish.
The copies that I've seen prior to the one we just watched on DVD, which was actually pretty crisp, that was a remaster.
I think the one on Daily Motion wasn't too bad. I'm not sure it would be DVD quality, but it was pretty close.
Well, this was the DVD remaster. It was the DVD quality, and the DVD's been out since 2010, so this was actually pretty good. So let's move on now to our what we liked and what we didn't like about the episode. And you're up, Matt.
I'm up. What I liked about this episode. I liked the overall feel of it. We had, I think that what really helped this, if there is much to actually help it with, was the still claustrophobic, fearful setting. We got these really nice tight corridors throughout the station, and then when we even get out of the station, we still have, for the most part, these tight cave-like corridors that we're running through as well, unless we're in meeting rooms and stuff.
Well, I can tell you this. Part of the reason the station looks so good is because they were able to take 2 episodes worth of scenery budget for it.
Yeah.
Because, it's the same sets as Ark in Space, slightly redressed to make it look newer.
Just a little
and
bit,
they did that deliberately so that they could have the budget for 2 things on it.
And we know that neither Ark in Space nor this episode put a lot of their budget into the effects of what happened inside the station. The green bubble wrap or the terrible dummies, depending on which episode you're looking at. So the money had to go somewhere. It went toward the set.
The on-location filming for the caverns happened in a place called Wookiee Hole.
Wookiee Hole.
That is awesome.
Interesting name for a cave.
There's
the Wookiee
actually
Hole.
a little bit of tidbit information about that. Apparently, the person setting up the lighting, he needed to get in and do some pre-planning for the lighting, because they can only film one section of the caverns at a time, because it took so long to set everything up. So he was in there planning everything out, and he was assured that he was locked in and that no one was going to be disturbing him. And here comes this diver down the pathway and promptly climbs into one of the lakes there and starts diving and everything. He's like, "What the hell is this?" So he goes and talks to the person who had locked him in. He's like, "Hey, I thought I was going to be alone down here and everything. And what is this thing coming down here and diving in the pools?" And the guy just looks at him. He's like, "Oh, well, about 4 months ago, someone drowned down there." And that we've had several reports of people seeing this diver walking through here when there's actually been no one around. So, yeah, it's an interesting little ghost story.
Okay, that's freaky.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a weird.
Yeah, they
freaky.
did.
Apparently,
Wookiee Hole, for those of us here in Wisconsin, it would be like having filming done in Cave of the Mounds or Eagle Cave. It's basically a touristy cavern, kind of like Carlsbad Cavern, but not as large. Of course, because there isn't a cavern system as large as Carlsbad.
I did write down the other incident that happened was that there apparently is a stalactite that is known as the Witch. And as a joke, some of the production crew dressed it up in cloth and a little broom and were making fun of it and everything. Well, shortly after that, one of the cameramen fell and broke his leg. Elizabeth Sladden's mini boat, the one that she was driving around in the subterranean lake there, it went berserk. It went crazy, and it was headed straight towards this shelf that kind of sloped down into the water. So before she could get her head bashed in, she jumped off of the mini boat. The guy who dived in after her managed to rescue her, but wound up getting sick and having to go to the hospital for getting a cold or getting like some kind of illness from the water. So.
Yeah, really cold water.
So now there's a little story about the curse of the witch too. On top of that.
Wow, is this entire cave cursed? Look at the Cybermen didn't die down there.
This version of them did. And they stayed dead for 7 years.
8. This was Tom Baker's first season. They wouldn't show up until Peter Davidson's second.
I thought Peter Davidson's first was Earthshock. Because Adric didn't survive a full season with him.
I thought it was the beginning of the second.
No, because Time Flight was the end of his first season, and Adric was already dead by then.
Okay, so 6 years, 7 years. Tom had 7 seasons, so.
Yep.
First of one to first of the other. Anyway, so Matt, that was what you liked from it.
Yep.
Bill.
I like that Harry actually felt like a belonging member of the TARDIS crew. I mean, I'm not sure how often that happened, but this is the only episode that I've watched, and I was like, wow, Harry feels useful in this episode, and I've never felt that way before.
So.
And he interacts with people. He has lines with a point. He has a role in the plot, and again, that's never something I've seen with that character before. So,
how many other Harry Sullivan episodes have you seen, Bill?
I mean, I've seen most of this season, excluding Centaurans. That might be it. I forget. Did he appear with the Third Doctor, or did they just call him over the phone?
No, he started at the beginning of he got called over the phone at the end of Planet. And then they brought him in Robot. First appearance.
I wasn't quite sure if he had appeared in Planet or not.
No.
And then he left in Zygons, which was immediately following this episode.
Right. So yeah, he wasn't in all that many episodes anyway.
Yeah, he was in it for just a
Robot,
part of a season.
Ark
When
in
I watched
space.
Genesis, I don't even remember Harry being there.
I do, but that's me.
I can barely remember him being there myself. I think he, Zygons in particular, I think he kind of felt a little bit more there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I
just
remember
me.
him mostly from Terror of the Zygons myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you felt it was good that he was there. All right. So Tim, what did you like best about the episode?
What I liked best about this episode was Tom Baker himself, because it seemed that he was like along the ride with me, and he was almost reading my mind at times.
Sorry,
Comment.
I'm chuckling because this was a great example, especially of early Tom Baker.
Yeah.
And this was a man that stepped out and pretty much owned his role from the first scene. And you can tell he's loving it every single scene he's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because
I
every
mean,
time.
it's
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
you can really say Tom Baker played the Doctor. He didn't acted as the Doctor. He played the Doctor. He was playing.
Mhm.
And every time, like I was sort of like getting out of this story, he was there to like bring me back in. And even like every time I was like thinking this this is stupid. He was like almost he winking at me, saying, "Yes, I know, but I'm here. We'll get through this."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
There's a reason why England fell in love with Tom Baker after this first season. Usually there's a bit of uncertainty and adaptation when a new doctor takes over. From what I understood, pretty much after Robot, he became the Doctor even for the hardest of Pertwee fans.
Mhm.
He was unbelievably owned this role, and it's one of the reasons he stayed on for 7 years was because he enjoyed it and everyone enjoyed him being there.
Yeah.
And this is just one of the more obvious parts where he's just having fun.
Yeah, even while some of the things going around him might not be perfect, he's still there to enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah. Like
All right. All right, Aaron, what did you like?
I am actually going to kind of piggyback off of this and say that I actually really enjoyed Elizabeth Sladen in this one.
Mm-hmm.
She I particularly enjoy her fighting off the Cyberman, which was kind of,
That
it
was
was
a very
actually
intense
kind of
fight,
freaky.
actually.
I remember being kind of a little freaked out watching her fight this thing because, as a kid, you don't really pay. I wasn't paying too much of attention to the special effects. It's obviously just kind of being dangled there on some kind of string or something like that, or hauled along, or she's just kind of holding it there actually. So I
So,
felt it was
in
pretty
order, we
convincing.
had a like vote for Harry, the Doctor, and Sarah.
Pretty much. I felt the whole cast just came together, and especially
So-
her reaction towards the end about how they were nearly going to spin into the planet. It's just she seemed genuinely horrified that they were going to die.
Based on the trend, my
Elizabeth-
guess is that Randy is going to say that he really enjoyed the TARDIS in this episode.
No, but actually, I was going to say more on Aaron's. I've always loved Elizabeth Sladen's ability to act.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, this was one of her showcases where she got to show it. And I
Elizabeth-
remember at one point commenting to Aaron, is she wearing camo?
She
Mhm.
was.
It's like,
a little
whoa.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was helping with
Okay.
the Thals, wasn't she? In the
Mhm.
previous episode. So yeah,
Yep.
she was wearing a little bit.
Yeah.
Camo. But yeah, Elizabeth Sladen has never been bad as an actress, as far as I can remember. I've seen her first episodes even.
I would maybe argue for the dinosaur invasion, but that's not her fault.
That's totally not her fault. Anything to do with that particular story is not her fault, or any of the actors' fault.
Okay.
It's just a really bad story.
Okay. I'm going to take what I like to eat some crow. In previous podcasts, I've had some very bad things to say about the Cybermen in this episode. And while they're not my favorite Cybermen, they are a lot better than I remembered them being.
Yeah.
And again, I think that this was because the first time I watched it, it was off an 11th generation recording.
Probably.
A recording so bad that the actual cyber dub voices didn't sound like they were dubbed. It sounded like guys talking in a helmet.
Yeah, I noticed that the voices were a little bit better in this one too, so I'm not entirely sure what was up with that.
I know this is the first episode where the Cybermen were dubbed by the same person wearing the armor.
Yeah, but they actually sounded fairly good. It was obvious to see where the 80s Cybermen were coming from. It was kind of to start seeing the transition from 60s to 80s Cybermen in this.
Yeah, you can start seeing the next step up coming pretty soon.
And while the person in the Cyber Leader's helmet wasn't David Banks, he was pretty close.
Oh yeah, he was definitely trying to
obvious that
this is the first Cyber Leader and the first one to say excellent.
Yes, although he does not say it with the cheese that David Banks.
No, he doesn't.
I think he also said good.
It was actually inappropriate. It was actually appropriate to say in that form of what he was reporting. And like I said, it was obvious that they hired Banks to sound like this guy, but Banks would make it his own later. We'll discuss that later. I just wanted to say
while
that
he didn't have the same hammy voice as Banks, he definitely seemed to be posing for the camera quite frequently when possible.
It's just
clever,
but
Banks will take it to 11.
Clever.
Yeah, that's also true. There's always been a cyber quote leader unquote that seemed to mug for the camera a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this one he had his hands on his hips and everything. He was really trying to be as impressive and posing as he could, or at least show off, so the camera could look at him for a few minutes.
Yeah, and you start to see that point where even the doctor is talking like, "Wow, if it wasn't for the tin mask, I think he'd be cracking a smile," kind of thing. You start to notice that with the Cybermen, and that's kind of a change of the evolution of there. It's getting towards David Banks' smug, cyber smug, if you would.
Smug.
Still, I found them a lot more enjoyable, and I kind of see why they went towards that way. It was giving the Cybermen some personality without being overly so.
Yes.
I actually enjoyed them a lot more than I thought I would based on my previous viewings, and most of that's because of a lot better quality recording, I think.
Yes, although I will say there are still some very silly bits with them.
I also liked some of the changes on the suits. The caps and everything seemed to look a lot better than I remembered. Anyway,
I noticed that there was particularly a touch up with the helmets. It's no longer the light dome, but like 4 little guns on their head.
Yeah, actually, Aaron and I liked that. That was something we didn't like.
I would prefer a big flashing light instead of little guns there. Yeah.
And it's obvious that they felt the same way because the next version of Cyber helmets went back to having a light there, albeit a tiny one. But
I think it was more of a hologram, but yeah.
But I'm taking that to say that they were a lot better than I remember them being. So. So Matt, what didn't you like about this episode?
What didn't I like? I will say that there seems to be an overall incompetence with certain characters at certain times when they shouldn't be so incompetent. Well, I think the one time that really shines through, and Mikey here, who is alongside me, not exactly listening in, but was watching the episode with me, would agree that one of the most incompetent points was when the Cybermen heard about the rocket and went, it's useless, therefore it shall not affect our plans. Let's destroy their planet anyway.
Well, they decided that the rocket, they hadn't launched the rocket, therefore it wasn't ready.
No, they said it was useless, not that it wasn't ready. which means that they think that the rocket was never going to be launched at all, and they hung around like a bunch of morons.
Clever.
Clever. We'll hold this against
right.
you, Cybermen.
All right.
I think that's going to be our new thing every time a Cyberman does something stupid.
Yeah, it'll be our new quote for whenever Cybermen do something stupid. Clever,
okay, so Bill,
clever.
what didn't you like about this episode?
I thought I wasn't going to get to use this one, but since I am, I think I will, just because so many things come to mind that are all... I mean, I normally do not judge an episode for its visual effects, but when you're looking out a window and seeing the soundstage, or when the effects are sometimes so bad that it takes you out of the scene, I have to give it a ding for that. And this episode has so many... I mean, I could just list on and on things that were done really poorly with the visuals. I'm not going to, but it's just... It's painful to watch at times.
I don't know if it's just me, but it seems that in the Tom Baker era, more than any else, that the budget problems really show through.
That's probably also
actually,
because it's the first color era to use as many sets as it did, whereas the previous color era had one set that it used a lot and therefore was able to spread a little bit of its budget a bit more.
I would actually argue that it would be the Peter Davidson era that it really starts to show its the budget problems.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's when it starts to get the budget cuts, isn't it?
Actually, I don't know if Doctor Who ever got its budget cut.
It didn't get its budget cut.
The problem was,
I thought it did because that was also the same time the ratings decline started. I thought there was a budget cut around the same time.
No, not that I'm aware of. The problem was it never got its budget increased.
Yes. It never got budget that really
I think it got I think it got a budget increase from 1969 to 1970 when it went to color at the beginning of the Pertwee era. And then it never got another budget increase again.
At least not for a very long time.
While the costs of technology and everything went up, Doctor Who never got its budget increased.
Maybe
that's what I'm thinking of then.
At least it never got increased to the point
it may have gotten a budget decreased for the 86-87 season, when Michael Grade kind of axed it and brought it back, but they got compensated by that from cutting from 26 episodes a season to 13.
Yeah.
Anyway, more or less, the budget decrease. The chintzier you see the budget was because the fact that their budget never went up. At least not in any way to compensate for the increased cost of special effects. Mm-hmm. I mean, Doctor Who was one of the earliest BBC productions to use blue screen, and it shows that they really didn't know what they were doing and have the full budget to do it, to have a proper post on it. And I don't think they got green screen until like 80. I don't think they got green screen for the original run of the series.
Yeah, I don't think so. They didn't get that far yet.
Visual effects, as this is still the early blue screen age, because I think they got blue screen just a season or two before this.
I seem to recall last time we discussed the blue and green screen, this is a vague recollection, so I might be off by a bit, but I seem to remember having come across something mentioning that Doctor Who was one of the first to use actual green screens because of the TARDIS. Because blue screen doesn't work if the TARDIS is anywhere in the picture. I seem to recall that they actually did use green, but it was still very rudimentary CSO.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly that the what we consider green screen technology is not what they had.
Yeah.
They sound very
whether the color of it was green, blue, or mauve doesn't matter. What we consider green screen technology, which came out in the 80s, if I recall, it was what Lucas used on Return of the Jedi. was, I think, one of the first cinematic uses of green screen. I don't think that came to a TV show budget during the run of original Who.
No.
And what they had was the chintzy blue screen technology that came about in the late 60s, early 70s. And like I said, Doctor Who was one of the first shows to use it. And it always kind of showed that they really didn't have either the knowledge or the budget to use it properly in many cases. Sometimes they'd get beautiful green. Sometimes it would work beautifully, but most of the time it was kind of very hokey.
As I believe Aaron's image is kind of trying to point at.
And a lot of it was, again, new tools that they hadn't used before, and a lot of it was that they were also trying to pull off Doctor Who on a shoestring budget. It was considered a children's show by the BBC, even though it was done by their drama department. So it was never given the full budget it deserved until New Who.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Tim, was that what you didn't like about the episode? Was that what you were going to say? Was the budget, or did you?
That was one thing I was considering. What I didn't like was that it seemed frustrating that so many problems stemmed from a lack of communication between people. It's
How so?
like, or like the guy who was the agent on the thing.
Oh.
It seems that I'm working for the Cybermen. No, what?
Okay.
Yeah. I'm working for the Cybermen. No, I'm actually working with the Vogons.
Oh yeah, he was a double
Vogons
agent.
are different.
It'd be nice, if
it would be nice if you would actually let in other people who kind of need to know about the plan, actually know about the plan. But then again, he's also the guy who's sort of responsible for killing 70 people.
He's working with the militant Vogons and is responsible for the deaths of quite a few people aboard the station. So I can see why he would be a little closed-mouthed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, who would he have told?
Could have started telling the last couple of guys and the Doctor in particular, but he wouldn't
still,
up to it even then. Instead,
the last couple of guys would have arrested him, because those were his friends he just killed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if they'd arrest him or if they would,
They were very tempted to kill him.
You're in a quarantine zone. I'm pretty sure they're mostly military except for him, and he just killed their friends. I don't know if the arrest is the right word for what they would have done to him.
And besides, his end goal was to blow up their station, and you could bet your bottom dollar he wasn't going to have them get off the station. So he was plotting their deaths too. He was basically a giant asshole that was hired because he was greedy enough that the Vogons offered him a truckload of gold if he would kill 70 people, lure Cybermen onto a beacon, and then blow it, and then let it be a target for them to blow up. So, yeah, he's basically a huge douche. There's no real redeeming quality about him, and his death by rocks, thanks to Harry Sullivan, is, well...
comical and deserved at the same time.
Yeah. Yep. So, Aaron, what didn't you like?
I didn't like the fact that the planet Voga that is supposed to be a planet of gold wound up being made almost into a planet of copper. Granted, from scene to scene, they kept it consistent. Every time you saw someone holding gold dust or gold nuggets in their hands, they were copper colored rather than actually gold colored. Maybe it's just a special type of gold. Maybe it's red gold or something like that.
Maybe the BBC couldn't afford gold paint.
Yeah, exactly. Or you said, Randy, that there was something where it kind of they tried doing it before and it really messed with their
not before. this was something after I'd noticed when they had showed gold bracelets and, other stuff in later episodes, like Legopolis. It seemed to drive their special effects machines nuts. I don't know if you recall that bracelet that the Master made Nissa wore, but that thing, at least in the taped copies I had, I don't know if it does it in the remaster, but that thing went spotty as hell. It looked horrible, and I can remember some other gold designs. Yeah, something like that. And I'm wondering if they used a copper-based something because it didn't set off the CSO machine as much.
See, I'm thinking of the. Let me bring up an image of it, but I'm thinking of the axons.
If you can't show gold, call it something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what Aaron's trying to hint at is like the actual on-hand gold and their outfits and everything don't look like they're made of gold at all. It looks way too bronzy.
I'll bring up an image.
I know what she means. I mean, I didn't think about it, but looking back at it, I can see exactly what she's talking about.
So we've got somewhat gold people, and then we have actual gold people from the 70s, no less, or from earlier era, I should say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it was probable that they just decided not to deal with that problem and made it look more like copper.
Or the nearby decoration store had a sale on copper items,
and they figured it looked close enough to gold.
They couldn't afford a can of gold paint.
I was more wondering if they don't have, fool's gold in England.
They probably do, because anywhere there's gold, there's fool's gold. But still, couldn't they get some freaking styrofoam chips and have just painted them with gold paint?
Right.
And it would have looked more like gold than what they were using.
Hell, if you go to any of those places that do the sand art, I'm sure that they have something that looks like convincing gold dust.
Anyway, what I didn't like was the Vogons. And the fact that other than the two main guys, most of their helmets or most of their masks looked like they didn't fit very well.
Yeah.
Even I would argue I would take away the except for bit.
Well, at least they covered them up with beards and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that it was mostly effective. But when you looked at the Vogan guards, you could see the mask and then a space and then the actor's head in several shots, or their eyes, where the mask stuck out from their eyes a little better.
I think that happened with the Cybermen a few times also.
The Cybermen at least managed to cover it up a little better because their eyes had the mesh in front of it, and so you didn't get it from that angle. It was, I think, mostly. Right. Still, it's something that the director should have taken into account when filming it, and apparently Bryant didn't. And it's just a few times where it just kind of broke me out of my watching the episode and going, oh, God, that looks fake. Okay, so, favorite scene. Matt.
Okay, I'm going to move the microphone away from my mouth a little bit because this might get a little loud. Harry Sullivan's an imbecile! Favorite moment.
Yeah, that's a great Tom Baker moment. Did you try to take this off, Harry? Did you cause the rock slide, Harry? And then he just chuckles a bit and just bellows it out. It's great.
Yeah, that was a picture perfect moment. And as a matter of fact, the Babel Color, who does the every 3 or so years update of every episode ever in one video, still uses that audio clip for his Tom Baker part.
Okay.
That's one of the audio clips he keeps around.
Bill.
I think I'm going to have to go with in the opening when they first arrive back at the beacon and the doctor acts like he's going to let Harry keep the time ring and then it dissolves. It's an entertaining scene, and I guess I just kind of feel like the episode goes downhill from there.
To be
Nice
honest,
gif.
if Matt hadn't had technical issues, the thought that Matt and I had for the bump, or that I had for the bump that I relayed to Matt, was that have that scene and have Tom Baker's smiling face, pause the image and have the troll song play, because he's obviously trolling Harry so hard. The second I saw that scene, while Aaron and I were watching it, I'm just like, oh my god, epic troll.
Okay,
Troll la 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 la. Because it was an epic troll moment, showing that Tom Baker can be a bit of a troll sometimes.
Well, yeah, or there's also like that cheesy grin he gives as soon as it dissolves. You put a troll face right over that, and
Well, that's what we were talking about, Bill.
Yep.
well, you were saying just the you guys were saying the audio. I was just saying the visual.
We're putting the audio over that visual.
Got you.
But again, we've been having technical issues with Matt's system fried.
Yeah, and I'm still have been ever since I got my new computer. I have not gotten a video editing software that actually has worked on this computer for some reason.
Wow.
So I'll work that out eventually.
Okay.
I have to take a rubber mallet to that thing. Yeah. Yoo-hoo.
All right. So that's Matt's. That's Bill's. Tim's.
My favorite scene is when the doctor is in the bad guy's room and he has to acrobatically jump from onto the bed in a very cool
because it's electrifying his shoes.
Electric chair. It's like, oh god, the doctor is playing my favorite game. The floor is made of lava.
Floor's made of lava. Hop on the bed. Get over to the cupboard door. Swing on the cupboard door.
So well, they had to replay it again next week. All right. So, Aaron, what was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene is when Harry and Sarah are trying to get out of the manacles, and he makes a comment about her ankles, and she snaps back at him, "My ankles are not thick." He's like, because they know it's gold, so they're trying to bend these gold manacles. He's like, well, if your ankles weren't so thick, and they finally snap them off, and she stands up, just like, my ankles are not thick. But it came off so natural.
Yeah, both of them had some really good banter.
Mm-hmm.
All three of them had very good on-screen charisma with each other. They meshed very well.
Mm-hmm.
I really never saw that during the Third Doctor era. Even the Doctor and Joe didn't have the chemistry on screen that these two had. Mm-hmm. That these had. I mean, it was like I hadn't seen it since Troughton and Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
And Ian Marter and Tom Baker were huge friends off camera, and they continued to work together even after Martin, or even after Marter left the series. They were writing a Doctor Who movie called Doctor Who Meets Scratchman, which was another name for the devil, and it was going to be a Dr. Harry and Sarah movie. That sounds a little bit interesting, but
then he saw Star Wars and he tossed the idea out.
Yeah, they couldn't get the funding for it up.
Yeah, they saw Star Wars and instantly knew they couldn't get the money they needed to make it.
Okay.
It was going to be way too much, and the BBC wouldn't be able to give them much in the way of any money anyway.
Yep. So that never happened. Okay, my favorite is no surprise to Bill, would be the Doctor facing off against the Cybermen, verbally mocking and deriding them for talking about how their biggest thing was a failure, and the development of the glitter gun. I just like how he's almost able to goad the cyber leader into a fury. And of course is one of Tom Baker's
that
most
is a
epic.
bit of an exposition heavy mocking there, but yes.
I liked it.
What's Sidman's talking about in a rusty old spaceship?
Albeit, I probably would have voted for some of the other favorite scenes, but as the person doing this, I get to be last.
Harry.
Anyway, so what was your least favorite scene? What was the most eye rolling? Matt.
I think the one that really got the giggles out of me and was somewhat of an eye roll moment was I believe it was when the Cybermen surrounded Tom and Elizabeth when they accidentally heard the Doctor and Sarah trying to escape. And apparently the cyber controller or the cyber leader's plan for bringing Tom into submission is to grab him by his shoulders and rub him and wildly massage his shoulders quickly up and down. That was just
We'll
ridiculous
stop you
to
with
watch.
the massage of doom. Still, a massage from a Cyberman can't be.
I think they do that in Attack too, and it's kind of awkward in both.
Yeah,
episodes.
still a massage from a Cyberman can't be that good feeling.
No, but it still looked particularly silly in this one.
Okay, Bill, what was your least favorite scene?
Like I said before, I hate to focus on the visuals of an episode, but there are some that really make me cringe. In this case, it's when the Doctor is trapped alone aboard I believe it's on the beacon, and it's flying toward Volga, and it's like the scenery is on a rolling tube or something, and it just looks so ridiculous that it takes you completely out of the scene because it's like the planet is rolling in this little tube, and there's no real landscapes would never behave even a tenth looking like that, and it just took me completely out of it.
To be honest, that was pretty typical for BBC productions of the era.
Yeah.
Blake 7 had that a lot too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it didn't throw me as anything particularly good, but it wasn't god awful in my opinion.
It threw me out of that scene, and I couldn't focus on anything else.
I'm actually trying to find that scene on here. Yeah, they had a clip of it.
It was near the end of the episode. It's not really that big of a deal, but yeah, the rolling planet thing was done a lot on Blake 7 too. You just kind of deal with it because you think, oh hey, look, 70s special effects.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
There you go.
Tim, what was your least favorite scene?
The scene that sort of made me question its inclusion was when the Doctor gets back on the space station, having been given 15 minutes, and they're about to go off somewhere, and Sarah Jane says, "Doctor, what? It's good to see you." Oh, okay. Well, now back to what we're doing. Yes, that was very necessary for you to say that just then. And it seemed like
I think it was just a moment to show how
alien
Tom was technically, but
I mean,
it was kind of out of the blue.
Like I said, I didn't hate it. It just seemed a bit misplaced.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. With Tom Baker, I think it could have been better written. With Sarah Jane going, "Oh, I'm so happy to see you, Doctor," and Tom Baker looking at it going, "Yes, you are." Would have been a little more funny anyway. Aaron, what was your least favorite scene?
The one where they try to ambush the Cybermen and wind up getting their butts kicked. They're like, here, let's grab a
Damn it,
handful of
Aaron.
gold. Let's grab a handful of gold.
Yeah, Aaron brought
and
this
jump
up,
down.
and I actually spent 5 minutes trying to justify it to Aaron, but then I watched it again today, and I'm like, yeah, there's no excuse for this scene. The Vogons are on a planet of gold, and they're getting attacked by Cybermen who they know who their weakness is gold. So they pull out pop guns they were using on each other and try to take out the Cybermen. What the fuck? I'm going to have to stick with this and go with Aaron on this one for my own vote, because it was the ludicrous of it, because they must have did it like 3-4 times. Yes, it just took out 4 of our guards. Send 4 more with pop guns.
Well, I'm talking about the time when they're actually trying to sneak around. It's the Doctor and Harry on top of the shelf, shelf in the cave, and they're planning on jumping down and ambushing the Cybermen below them, and they have like hands full of gold, and the Cybermen turn around, promptly seize them and knock the gold out of their hands, and then finally the other worker from the station jumps down and activates his bomb and rescues them that way.
Okay, that's the scene you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
They're still kind of related. It's still very silly.
So yeah, then mine is actually when the cyber force is coming, or when the 2 Cybermen and the bomb-laden captives are going down, and the Vogons try to attack them with their guns, which do jack and shit to the Cybermen, and the Cybermen just start mowing them down 2-3 at a time. And they just send more guys with guns, and I'm just like, come on.
You guys didn't develop your own glitter gun? I mean, you gave...
Well, he did say it was human ingenuity.
Well, it was,
I know, but they were
in contact
They were obviously
with each
there
other.
at the end of the war.
Yeah. Although the fact that the humans don't know that Voga is inhabited, that actually was something that almost made my list, was that, first of all, how did Voga survive to that point? And second of all, if the humans were involved in the defeat of the Cybermen on Voga, why do they think Voga is an uninhabited asteroid?
Well, that's obviously because Voga apparently... The Cybermen attacked Voga at the end of the war. Something happened, and Voga basically apparently blew out of its orbit, got knocked halfway across the galaxy, and wound up in orbit around Jupiter.
And somehow everyone on it didn't freeze to death.
Mondas syndrome.
Well, yeah, I kind of pointed that out too.
They all mentioned that they were in basically suspended animation vaults. That they mentioned was where they were hiding now, that housed their people during that. So they kind of hid underground somewhere in a thermal vault or a suspended animation capsule or something, and didn't come out until they entered the solar system and went in orbit around Jupiter. And even then, they're sitting here going, shit, we come out here, the Cybermen are going to find us and kill us. Still, it's a bit hinky. I mean, I'll admit it doesn't hold up under modern scrutiny, but it's no different than Mondas propelling itself to the end of the universe and back.
No, it's no worse than that, but it's not better either.
And considering that they're both Cybermen stories, both written by Gary Davis and Kit, this time without the assistance of Kit Pedler. So kind of coming from the same source there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that was basically my dislike of it, was the fact that, no one had thought of sharing the glitter guns with the Vogons, or at least, arming the Vogons with frickin' slingshots full of gold dust, which would have been more effective.
Yeah.
So, it is time for our final thoughts. I will start with Matt, as that's who I've been going to for first all time. Matt.
Oh, final thoughts on this. Yeah, I don't think the Cybermen were quite as bad as I remember them, but they still aren't perfect in this one. I would rate them about average of some of the silly parts in Moonbase. Um, the visual effects are not much to call home about, but they weren't horrible for 70s. They were about average to okay with 70s tech. Our main TARDIS crew definitely do shine through as very good and very competent throughout most of this, at the very least, and mostly leaving the major flaws and silly things for being the other characters in the rest of the story. Other than that, not much to call home about for this one.
All right. Bill?
Definitely not the best Cyberman story. The supporting cast is bland. The effects are worse. The permanent TARDIS crew are good, and I'm trying to remember his real name, but the returning actor Tobias Vaughn is all right, but he doesn't exactly shine in this role either because he's not given anything to shine with. And
He has to do it
altogether,
through a mask.
yeah, but I mean, you can act through a mask if you're given material to work with, and there's really nothing original in this script to work with other than there's gold. But ultimately it was not. I mean, even if it's allegedly intended as a satire, it falls flat on too many levels to succeed at that. It's just it could have been worse, but it could have been a whole lot better.
All right. Tim?
I was not very impressed with this story overall. Like I said, what I really liked was Tom Baker in that he really sort of got me through it. It seemed sort of it felt like this episode was being written by someone who had short-term memory loss. Because the feel kept changing with every scene, and the plans of the Vogans, the Cybermens, kept jumping about to me, and that might have been the fact that it was only 4 episodes long. I think this was one story that could have used a bit more time to tell itself.
Yeah.
Maybe.
All right. Anything else, Tim?
No, that's pretty much my feelings in a shell of a nut.
Okay. Aaron?
It's not the worst I've seen, but I definitely agree with a lot of what's been said. It should have been longer. I do like the chemistry between the cast. But it's just it felt kind of disjointed at best. So definitely not one of the better ones. And it's certainly a disappointment coming off of Genesis of the Daleks. So
Although, really, compared to the invasion, too, it's not that.
Yeah.
Okay, so my thoughts on it is this episode's not very well written, and obviously was rewritten a little bit by Holmes, and that obviously changes a bit of the feeling of it. The acting I didn't find so bad. Of course, the main characters all managed to shine. I found the station crew to do a very good job considering what was obviously some bland and hokey dialogue they were given. They managed to at least make it believable. And really, where it fell short was on the course of the Vogans, who were all, dealing with it in very Shakespearean tones, kind of just gave it that extra layer of cheese it didn't need. The sets were wonderful, as was the location filming, but most of the visual effects were, at best.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really a mixed bag when you take it apart. So let's move on to our ratings. Again, we'll start with Matt, as he was the first on the list here.
So final rating. Mixed bags and nuts here. A lot of really bad ones and a lot of really good ones. So overall, I can't really hate down upon it too hard, but at the same time, it was by no means a Shakespearean experience with Cybermen. So I'll give it about a 3.
3 flat.
3 flat out of 5.
Okay, Bill.
I'm gonna have to give this one a 2.
2 flat.
Yeah.
Ow. All right, Tim.
I'm gonna have to say this averaged out to the average 3. 3 flat.
All right. Aaron.
Well, considering that there is a reference to Shakespeare in here with Dusty Death Out Out from Macbeth Act 5 Scene 5, I'm going to give it a 3.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the consensus on this and give it a 3 flat. It would be lower, but the acting of the main 3 characters at least brought it back up to par.
I guess it looks like I'm the negative one this time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're the negative Nelly here. And with those votes, it averages out to a 2.8.
That actually does bring my season average down to match yours, though, Randy.
Are you deliberately trying this?
No, I was not on purpose, but I looked down afterward
Everybody
just to
needs
see.
a pooper. That's why
So
they
a
invited
2.8 for Revenge of the Cybermen, and
Guys,
that's going to
we've
pretty
lost
much
the
do it.
stream.
We have?
We have?
Yeah, I have.
Just hold on. Don't do anything to it, Aaron, because I'm still seeing it right now, at least.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know
I'm
if
seeing
there's
it.
lag or not.
All right, so I'm
Not as
actually going
live.
to.
Oh,
This will do it.
yeah,
What?
I'm still seeing the stream. Yeah,
I'm
Aaron.
showing the
Okay.
stream
Okay.
showing itself as a blank video.
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
this will actually do it for Revenge of the Cybermen. If you enjoyed your time with us, you can like us at Unearthly Podcast on Facebook or follow us at Unearthly Pod on Twitter. Watch our streams every Wednesday on twitch.tv/Unearthly Podcast, as one word, or watch our previous podcasts on YouTube at MadMad Inc. 1, or at an Unearthly Podcast on Mixcloud.
Did you see the
No, they haven't
image
had
I
a
had
chance to see
sent
it yet.
to the group?
No, I have not.
Oh,
I
I
don't
managed.
usually.
I managed to get since YouTube changed its URL policies. It is not going to be youtube.com/unearthly podcast, but I did set us up with unearthlypodcast.insomniatic.co.uk, which is my blog's domain, or one of my blog's domains. So you can go there as a quick stop for Unearthly Podcast YouTube.
So
Okay.
we'll be posting YouTube there for not right now, at the very least. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to help us keep going, you can go to patreon.com/Unearthly-Podcast. And of course, don't forget to join us next week as we skip ahead nearly 10 years in Doctor Who history while simultaneously going back to the early days of an Unearthly Podcast as we take a second look at Earthshock, written by Eric Soward and starring Peter Davidson.
Save the whales.
Save the whales! We did.
The lovely
So-
whales.
That will be
Saving the
Earthshock.
whales.
Paw.
That's the voyage home. That's not Earthshock. Earthshock is Save the Dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, that's right. First.
Save them from the whales.
We killed the dinosaurs.
The
Eric
whales
Saward.
kill the
Dastardly
dinosaurs.
bastards.
And
Alright.
Killstream.
I think the stream has already killed itself.